Hi, hello for the Africa's #1 YouTube channel. Welcome to the studio today. We are on the case of Africa. News reaching us. AU have held the 38th AU summit in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, Kenya, where His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama, has also attended. There have been some very important things that I've taken note of. And as you all know, you are my lovely and trusted subscribers and followers and people who watch my channel. I think it's very important that I bring you this update as it is very exciting and it is very enlightening. This tells me that light is coming to Africa, restoration is coming to Africa. But before we go into what Madam Okonjo-Iweala of Nigeria, a then finance minister in Nigeria, has shared some very detailed insights that for me, it's so amazing. But before we go to her, let's watch the beautiful arrival of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama from the 38th AU Summit. AU simply means African Union. How the Vice President Nana Ajiman has actually welcomed him. Let's watch. So, that's the president who has landed in a beautiful, the presidential jet. I mean, it's looking white and beautiful, looking so refreshing and refined. But Toronto did not use that when he was in power. Instead of using it, he was renting private jets. Anyways, well, let's go into the matters. Madam Okonjo, she stated that USAID should be a thing of the past to Africa. Let's watch her in a short video. And when we come back, this woman is such an amazing soul. And so I said, light has come to Africa. You know this song? Light has come, burdens are lifted. Africa should be singing that song right now. Let's go and watch. It's a USAID should be a thing of the past.
One of the key things that is emanating is a recognition of the present very difficult geopolitical context we are in. And of course, as the head of the WTO, I'm right in the middle of it. But one thing is very clear. Africa we really need to change our mindset. Access to aid, I think we can begin to think of it as a thing of the past.
So I've already heard from her. She said that Africa should start thinking of the USAID as a thing of the past. I mean, clearly a thing of the past because we have what it takes to instate ourselves in a standard where we are able to provide for ourselves. Even earlier before now, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama also addressed the nation with our current finance minister, Dr. Fosen. They all addressed the nation and stated the plan B of how they are going to take care of things, especially in Ghana, for the meantime. So the same thing have reflected in her statement. So I think Africa is the underline. And so her next point she stated is that she said Africans have to focus on these two things. And she said, number one, attracting investors.
We really have to focus on two things: attracting investment and mobilizing our own domestic resources. And I think that is a theme that is running through almost all the meetings here at the AU.
I mean, when we talk about attracting investors already, we all know that Africa is a continent that these folks thrive. This is why they mine their gold, their bauxite. This is why they mine, name it, anything resourceful, naturally resourceful, is within the continent of Africa. So she stated categorically that Africa should focus on attracting investors into the continent, not as rather going there to invest because we have a lot that it takes. Her second point, she stated that we should start thinking of how to mobilize our domestic natural resources.
This morning, we had a session with the Multilateral Development Bank Association of Africa itself, along with President Mahama. One of the things we talked about is how do we better mobilize our own resources on the continent to invest in ourselves?
Like the gold, like the bauxite, like the magnesium, like the cobalt, like the diamonds, whatever we should start mobilizing it. to see how we can process this within our own territory to create jobs and also to cause the money to circulate within the continent of Africa without going out of the region. And I think, it's been a long time people state, this woman, child.
Another theme going here at the meeting is the realization that we have to better add value and monetize our mineral resources on the continent. Almost every head of state is talking about large discoveries of lithium, manganese, copper, so many things that are needed in the manufacture of electric batteries and vehicles. They are found on this continent. The issue is, how do we attract the right investment so they add value? They don't come dig up the mine, the resources, and get them processed elsewhere. They have to be processed on the continent to create more jobs for us and to increase our trade. The only way we are going to be able to finance ourselves is to grow our economies, trade more, add value to our products, trade more. And at the WTO, we're trying to see what are those barriers that are preventing us. Sometimes when we add value, we can't export it the way we want. What are those barriers? And we have a unique opportunity at our 14th ministerial next year, which will be in Cameroon, for Africa to articulate those barriers and for us at the WTO to work hard to make sure that we lower them so we can have a better percentage of world trade and a better percentage of intra-Africa trade.
And I look at her age, you see that she's an aged person, she's old, but up here, she's very accurate, she's very direct, and she knows what she's talking about. In fact, she has been a finance minister before, and it is just beautiful. And I think Africa should jump on this video. We should share it. We should let people hear of it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And the next beautiful thing she said that we should see it as a challenge.
I think African leaders are recognizing that this is a challenge, but we can also see it as an opportunity. And again, I'm glad to say that it's emerging that, look, this could be looked at as an opportunity.
If US is not going to give aid to Africa, I saw a comment some time ago, someone said that, let's see within the continent of Africa what the USA has actually done to us as a continent. Has it really changed the narratives? I just want to believe that it's just a form of cartel that have been formed, that they will use to channel money. People who will chop will chop. That's why the President Donald Trump of the United States of America look at it and say, hey, look, I'm withdrawing. Madam Okonjo-Iweala of Nigeria, she said, this should be an opportunity for us to exhibit, to start innovating and initiating ideas. She also said that currently when they check the pension coffers, they have over 250 billion US dollars generated as pensioners' income. That these monies, the pensioners should look at how to readjust their constitutions governing these funds, just so that they can see how to reinvest this money within the continent instead of taking it outside of the country to regenerate more revenue for the continent to get a financial relief and a financial freedom. As we have over 84 banks on the continent of Africa, which is Africa's own banks, that with uniting and coming together with this bank, we can create and make a very great and a big difference.
This morning, we had a session with the Multilateral Development Bank Association of Africa itself, along with President Mahama. One of the things we talked about is how do we better mobilize our own resources on the continent to invest in ourselves. I pointed out that we have about $250 billion worth of pension funds resources on the continent, which we need to find a way to tap. First, the pension funds need to look at their regulations to see how they change it so that they can invest more on the continent rather than investing more outside. And pension funds from South Africa is the biggest, but you have South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Morocco, Botswana, Namibia, so many countries. When you start totaling the resources, it's huge, hugely significant. 250 billion is the estimate that I have. We have these multilateral development banks like Africa African Finance Corporation, Afrexim Bank, is chairing the Association of African Multilateral Institutions. We need to capitalize them better. Instead of looking outside to see, oh, what can we get? We have our own institutions. The shareholders are the African governments. Capitalize them properly so that their balance sheet can expand. They have a combined balance sheet now of about 70 billion. But if you look at the $70 billion, but if you look at the needs we have for infrastructure alone, up to more than 200 billion a year, you can see that we need to expand the balance sheets of these organizations. We have more than 84 national development banks and financial institutions, quite apart from the multilateral. How do we mobilize them and capitalize them better so they can help us finance? In Nigeria, during the time I was finance minister, we raised a diaspora bond of $300 million that was quite successful. That's another type of instrument you can tap in our resources of our people outside, not just inside the continent. So there's so many creative and innovative ways we can raise resources.
And for me, this is one of the best so far I've listened to since the year 2025 has started. How is it with you? Share your comment and in the comment section. Let me know how you feel. And I believe that we can make Africa great again. And this will create more jobs and we will have more money. I think many more of these updates I will bring to you as it's getting hotter. There are a lot of news, there are a lot of updates that I'll bring into you. Watch out on this channel. I'll bring you more. Have a blast. I sign out and we move forward.